How are you?
Hi, lovely to meet you. Look at you, still as gorgeous as ever.
Thank you so much. Nice to see a woman
Yeah,
behind the
it's
mic.
unusual, really, isn't it?
Yeah, how's that feel?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, and what I find incredible are how few the number of women are in music. I mean, of the hundreds or maybe thousands that I interview, they're all guys. 99.99% of them are guys. And
Yeah,
I'm really refreshed by chatting to a woman myself.
yeah. You talk to a lot of guys. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and it's,
yeah,
I mean, I certainly request to speak to them, but I keep looking for various women to talk to, and there are very few around that have
yeah,
been in the business for such a long time. You're
yeah.
one, you're one of few. How's that felt for you? Because I mean, you obviously experienced that through all the years, being a lone female out there.
Yeah, I understand it, because it's a lot of traveling and having this kind of lifestyle. A lot of women don't want that. They want to be at home, they want to have kids, it's not conducive to that.
All
So
right.
yeah, the balancing act of putting that together has been not so easy for me in this business, but I love traveling and I love music and it's still exciting to me. So I balance it, you know?
I mean, I think whatever you do as a woman, it's constantly a juggling act. If you want to have any sort of career and your chosen profession where that does require all that traveling and being away from the home makes it particularly difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I honestly bless COVID because I got back a relationship with my daughter, who's now she just turned 18 last week. And I just didn't have a relationship with her to speak of because I was never home. And COVID forced me to be home.
Yeah,
And,
I get that.
I'm embarrassed to say, but she sat down one day and said, I don't see a future for myself, Mom. And I realized, oh shit, she's depressed. And I didn't know it. And so we worked through that. And she said she wanted help and she got it. And she's happier and she's smiling again. And and honestly, would that have happened without COVID? I hope so. But I can tell you it did happen because of COVID,
Yeah,
and just a reconnection with my family.
yeah, I get that. Were you torn all those years? I mean, I guess every woman has to
Yes.
face that question: do I put my career first or do I put my family first?
I
Which way
haven't
do
been
I
off
go?
the road that long since my 30s. Yeah. I don't sit on a bus anymore. I don't want to do that, but I travel a lot and this was a breath of fresh air in my life to just see
Yeah,
friends and be home and as much as we could see friends. I mean,
yeah,
with
of course.
COVID, you do that 6 feet away thing.
Of
It was
course.
kind of
But
weird.
was it something that you always wrestled with since you had your daughter? I mean, you would have had to keep asking yourself the question: do I give up my career for my child? Which do I place first? How do I balance this?
I had slowly balanced it more. I wasn't doing as many shows in the year, but clearly not enough, you know,
I'm so
because
glad you got that time back.
yeah. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I've got three
Yeah.
girls, and
How
as a
old?
work, mine are 28, 30, and 38. So
Wow, girl, rock on.
girls are tough, aren't they, though? They pull your insides out. There's always somebody not talking to me and someone carrying on somewhere. But I
Yeah.
always, I mean, as a working journalist, I wanted to continue my career all these years.
Yeah.
And I certainly get about balancing whether you're there for school pickups or you're out in a job somewhere. It's
Right.
hard work. It's not fair on women. And, they can be he, she's, all the pronouns they want and all the gender that they want. But when it comes down to it, women still carry the bulk of the nurturing of children and are responsible for that. And you kind of have to make your way as you can do best.
I've been lucky. I've got a great man in my life, 24 years with him. And yeah, he came in with two boys. So our boys are 30 and 27, and they're out of the house. But then we had Natalie. So
Right.
she's still here.
Right.
And he's been great, as far as watching them and being a good dad to them
Oh,
when
that's
I'm not
awesome.
there. Yeah, they need that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, they totally do. I think you've done brilliantly, Terry Dunn, and it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. A woman who has not only survived this business but succeeded as you have in it for all these years is really amazing. I can imagine all the stories you have to tell, and of course we don't have time to speak of many of them at all. Actually, I'm not even sure how long I have got with you, but we'll just keep going until you tell me we can't anymore.
Okay.
You're coming back to Australia, your first time since 1985. We've missed you.
Well, actually, yes, 1985 we played there, but we also played there in 2018. We did a tour with Martika
Ah,
throughout Australia, and it's still not enough for me. It's I love your country. I love the people. I think you have the best accent in the world, and the lightness and the happiness in the people is unique.
uh,
So
that's very
I
kind of you.
yeah, well, I brought my husband there just to go so he could see it because he knew how much I loved it. So he got to see a bunch of it, and he loves it too. But yeah, I mean,
No,
this
we
is a
may
big
see
deal for
more of
us.
you here then. That's
We're
fabulous.
celebrating 45 years anniversary of Berlin this year.
That's incredible. Of course,
No.
you weren't with them from the very start, but I love the story around how you did get to join the band. Can you share that with us?
Well, John Crawford started the band in 1977, and I joined in 1979. I auditioned. I mean, in those days, there was no internet. So he had an ad in a place. You had to go to this place and look through all these notebooks of ads for singers and bass players and guitarists and bands looking for this and singers looking for bands. And so I saw his ad, and it said, we we do music that's unique. And I love unique. So I had to find out. So I contacted him, and he sent me a tape, and it was synthesizer music, which I had never heard before. And it wasn't happening in America yet. It was all overseas at that point.
Right.
So I was like, this is good. And the songs were good. And so I lied through my teeth and said that I had all this experience that I didn't have. And so they auditioned me, and I got the job. So we just started playing clubs for, God, 2, 3 years. And finally, we got the attention of the record label of Geffen. And
The rest is
yeah,
history, as they say.
I shouldn't say that. We actually had something played on the radio that got the attention of the record labels because we started selling records that we were printing ourselves, and it really took off. So it
Which was
was
that track that got the attention of the record company?
first was the Metro, and the second one was Sexima, and that we sold like 20,000 copies in a month. And so of course all the record labels who said that this synthesizer music is never going to go anywhere, all of a sudden they're knocking on the door saying, hey, we're interested in you. And so we finally got a deal.
So the music really was unique, wasn't it? At the time, there was,
Yes.
as you said, no other synthesizer sounds happening. And
Not in America. No.
and what had you been doing before you joined them?
I I was like dabbling in music, playing in some local bands, trying it out in local places, but it was not serious. And I was doing television at the time and doing pretty well. One movie, terrible movie called Thank God It's Friday. But the interesting thing about that one is that Thank God It's Friday was a movie, a disco movie made by a company who was showcasing two of its big artists, Donna Summer and the Commodores. Casablanca was making this movie.
Uh-huh.
And I was just an actor in it. But I just so happened to meet on the set Georgia Moroder, who wrote and produced Donna Summer. And I was in heaven. I mean, my God, it's Georgia Moroder. And he's looking at me like, yeah, whatever. And yeah, nice to meet you. Bye. And who would have thunk it that how many years later? It was probably 4 years later, 5 years later, we have an Oscar together and a #1 hit around the world together. Who would have thunk
it? Dreams really do come true, don't they? Especially in Los Angeles.
They do. And music dreams do come true in Los Angeles because it's one of the top 4 capitals of music in the world. Do you know what they are?
No, tell me.
So it's Los Angeles, Nashville, London, and New York are the top music capitals of the world.
Really? Melbourne holds the distinction as the live music capital of the world.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll be in Melbourne. We are playing in Melbourne.
You are indeed. I'm excited to see you playing here, as will a lot of my listeners be very excited to welcome you back, because this is the first time that you're headlining since 1985, isn't it?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting indeed. Genesis actually Berlin actually grew out of the rock band called the Toys. What do you know about why it changed its name to Berlin? It's a strange name to have chosen at the time, don't you think?
John Crawford is German, and he also started the Toys. And he was fascinated with how Berlin was, especially pre-war Germany, was this bastion of culture and art and incredible progress surrounded by communism, and for him as a teenager, it felt like how he was with his, all of these restrictions that he had from his parents and from school. And, everybody wants you to be this normal person, and you want to create, and you want to make music and art and do something great in the world. So I think he found that to be a interesting idea as a name.
So you had actually changed your career then from acting to fronting this band, and you were there for a little while and decided then to go back to acting again. But before you get back to acting, you do manage to take the band right to the top of the hit parade, don't you?
Yeah, it definitely took off. It took a while, but it did take off, and amazing to me that it feels full circle with this tour, because now the original 3 are back together. John Crawford, David Diamond, and I are in the band again. And it literally hit me on stage a month ago. Oh my God, we started this band and we're 45 years in, and this, I don't know how much longer this is going to go for us. I'm so fortunate that it is going this long, but who knows, how much longer can we go? And are we starting and finishing this band together?
It's quite amazing that you've all come back together again. And you're right.
I agree with you.
Totally full circle.
I didn't expect that.
No. So tell me a little bit about in the interim, when in 1984 you had the album Love Life and the single No More Words, that we saw that incredible video clip of you. Of course, that was just in the beginning of the MTV days, and that clip of you doing that Bonnie and Clyde style car chase and shootout that led to that song becoming your first top 40 hit. What was that like for you?
Picked that idea. Well, I suggested it. I wasn't running the band, so they said, well, what should we do as a video for the song? And I suggested Bonnie and Clyde because when I saw that actual movie, I don't know if you remember it. You're probably younger than me.
Yeah, I do.
But it was so hot. And Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway going at it. I got my first kiss watching that movie.
Ooh.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a big deal for me. And so I thought, okay, maybe we could play those parts. I don't know. It didn't really make sense for the song, but who cares? Let's try it and see. And that's my favorite video that we ever did, was that Bonnie and Clyde takeoff.
And it certainly worked. Fans everywhere loved it, didn't they? Because No More
Well, thank
Words
you.
just shot to the top of the charts.
And we will include that and a taste of a number of the videos that we've done over the years, along with new videos in the show, because
Right.
it's a really visual show.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Terry, how instrumental were you in getting Take My Breath Away off the ground and into the charts?
How instrumental.
Well, there was a lot of dissension in the group, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was, but Take My Breath Away wasn't the cause of it. It was another reason to have dissension.
Go
To
on.
be honest. Honestly, I mean, at that point, Sandy, we had been playing and touring and writing so long, and we didn't know how to get off the hamster wheel of that and get a life. And nobody was really in our corner saying, yeah, you need a break.
Right.
I honestly feel if we had done that, we would have stayed together. But because we didn't, we were just going and going and going, we turned on each other. And then Take My Breath Away came along, and it was a song outside of Berlin's writing. And another reason for us to disagree. I thought it was great to do a Giorgio Moroder song. We wanted to work with him so much that we begged him to just do anything. You know, we got 2 songs with him, No More Words and Dancing in Berlin. And the fact that, you know, I understand John's feeling now. He's like, oh my God, I'm busting my ass trying to write a hit for this band to keep it going. And here waltzes in Giorgio Moroder with one song he plops on the table, and it's a #1 success around the world. And it's just one of a dozen that he's written this year that is doing that. And I can't seem to get anything going. And it was just,
It'd
of
have to
course,
piss you off, wouldn't it?
right? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, of course I can understand that. And he felt, well, they're taking this band away from me now because I'm not good enough.
Yeah, right.
So he couldn't say that to me because he's scared and he's 20, whatever. And so he was just angry, and I didn't know why. And I was angry at him for being angry because we're getting all this, you know, countries are saying, come over now and play for us. Now we know who you are.
Yeah.
And arguing all the time, and we couldn't talk, and we were tired. And so it just imploded.
Yeah,
It,
right.
it was like we had to just get away from all of it.
Yeah, right.
And
So at the
that's
peak
why
of,
it stopped.
so at the absolute peak of your success, when that song was a #1 internationally, it received both the Golden Globe and the Academy Award for Best Original Song in 1986. None of us knew that Berlin was then imploding.
Yeah, and it was no one's fault. You know, I don't even blame the record company because this is a business, and they're like, all right, this gravy train is rolling, and let's just keep pushing it until it crashes.
Yeah, well, that's
did.
it. But and that's exactly the point, isn't it? That they do keep pushing until it crashes. It's all business to the record companies, or it certainly was then. I don't quite know how it operates today, very differently, I think. And they're responsible for killing a number of acts, really, by not nurturing and looking after the people within them.
Yes, and it's not their job to do that. Whose was it? I can't put a finger, I can't point it at anybody because
Well, is that management's role?
It would have helped, but again, management is business too.
Yeah.
Maybe, and it's just this kind of confluence of problems. You know, I didn't have friends because I was never home. I had no love life because I was never home.
Right.
So there weren't those people saying, hey, Terry, just take a break. You know, just say, hey, we need 3 months. Just give us 3 months. This is not going to derail in 3 months. But I didn't have that. And that's not anybody else's fault but mine. So it just falls apart. And I can see that with other bands too. It's a lot.
So how did you handle that time?
I got a life back. You know, it took time. It took me about 6 years. I got friends again, and because all that, I just had the idea that, oh well, if I'm successful, everybody will love me, and I'll have great relationships, and friends will be there, and they'll put up with anything. And no, it doesn't work like that. It's a whole other ball game to be a good friend, to be a good partner. And I had to learn how to do that. I didn't know. So it took time.
I can imagine stepping down from the limelight at that time would have been really difficult too. As needed as it was, it would have been a huge emotional adjustment for you.
Yeah, but I crashed and burned. I wasn't a good boss to myself. I was just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and I fell apart.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with that too and learn how to be better to myself to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. You had a few legal wranglings with John Crawford. I'm glad to see that you're back in the same camp with him again now over who was going to own the name. And
Yeah.
you got the name Berlin, which again must have really pissed him off. So poor John, I feel sorry for him now. I didn't know any of this before, but you recreated Berlin again after some years of kind of hiatus, I guess. You put the band back together again and went out with a whole bunch of new musicians.
In you bringing that up, Sandy, I think I just got something that I hadn't really thought about before, that it was probably better that I took over the name, because at that time he was married to somebody who was very religious and who was quite restrictive in what he could do musically at all, in anything. That's why he stopped making music, because he wanted her and he wanted a family, and he had to be a dad once he had the family. And so Berlin might have languished so long that it would not have come back.
Yeah, right.
But I was not in that situation. So that's actually a good thing. I was able to resurrect it and continue making albums. And then when he was ready, which was actually when he divorced that woman, he was free, so he could make music again. And that's when he got back in the band.
Poor John.
I know.
Seriously. Anyway, he's in a great place now. He's back with his original buds, and everybody's making fabulous music together, and you're back on the road again, which is awesome. You've all had your breaks, which is terrific. Well, I just wanted to ask you though, you toured in 2011 with our very own INXS, and that of course was when they were at their peak of their height of their successes themselves, weren't they? What was that like?
Ah, bless them. God, I love them so much, all of them. Well, I met INXS. I met the guys when we were in England doing our third album. We were on the same label, and they were just coming to England for the first time. And our label guy called us and said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? There's this band. They're coming over and playing the Marquee Club. You want to see them? We just signed them." And we were like, "Yeah, sure." So this was 1980. When did we make that album? 86?
Right.
No, it would have been before that, because 86 is when Take My Breath Away won the Oscar. So it was 84 or 85. And so we went to this club and saw this band, and I'm looking at Michael Hutchence, and I turned into a blithering freaking idiot on the floor. I was like, I turned into a 14-year-old drooling, fucking, like, I couldn't believe and how hot he was and how amazing of a performer he is. And then afterwards we met the band, and of course they're great too. And then we ended up in Michael's hotel room, all of us, both bands, and we're partying in there. And then he and I went out while he was in England, and they're traveling around, and we were there making the album. So yeah, wow, he was a wow.
Yeah, he sure was. Plenty of charisma around that one, huh?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, that went nowhere because he lives in Australia and I live in America.
So it
But
wasn't going any further.
but yeah, I mean, what a tragedy to lose him, and what a great band they are.
Yeah.
And so when we had the chance to tour with them, it was huge for us.
Yeah.
And that was when they had what's his name from Rockstar INXS, that singer. What was his name? JT?
That's right. JD,
Yeah, JD.
JD Nash. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, it just he was great. And I remember asking Andrew Ferris, why are you not writing more stuff with this guy? You know, they had Crazy Vegas. What was the name of that song? It was a hit in America, but nothing else. And he said, Terry, the magic just isn't there with him. You know, he's a great singer and we like having him, but it's the writing thing. It's just not.
Well, and that's so important, isn't it? The chemistry between writers and musicians generally is all important. It's either there or it's not. You can't
And you
manufacture
never
it.
know if it's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
right.
there or not. It's, you know, like good sex. You want it to be good, but you don't know until you do it if it's going
No,
to be
and then
good.
it's too late if it's not. When you find that one, you marry them. And we better change the
So
topic. You and
sorry.
I could get in trouble together.
I love talking to you. I do have to go. I think is it five? Yeah, I've got another one at 5:30. But
Oh,
I would
just give
love to
me
continue
two
if you
two
want
more
more.
minutes just to 2 more minutes just to
Yeah.
get up to the time. I just want to know finally, Terry Dunn. You talk about chemistry between writers. How did it come about that you and the other guys started writing new material again in 2016?
I think it's just because it's what we do. When, you know, when he was getting a divorce, John was divorcing this woman
Right.
after all these years. He came to me because I'd been through one divorce, and we helped each other. You know, I helped him through that, and David Diamond was also going through a breakup. A long time partner was breaking up, and so we just kind of hugged each other through that,
Oh,
and it just that's
developed,
what
redeveloped.
it's our language, you know,
Yeah,
just
right.
talking about music, playing things we like, making music together. And it took a while. We had to write a few things before we really sparked on
What,
what Berlin is now.
what's your favorite Berlin song? Which one shall
Of
we
all
go out on?
time,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say the Metro. Every time that never gets old to me. That song is so unique and so deep that I never tire of singing it and playing
And
it.
the latest stuff, how does that compare to the earlier stuff?
To say that, it still sounds like Berlin, but it's using a lot of the toolbox, the toy box that we have now, which we didn't have then. So it's the electronics are really fun to me. They're really inspiring to me.
Cool.
You know,
I know I have to let you go. I don't want to let you go. I'll see you when you get to Melbourne, Terry Dunn. Terrific chatting with you.
I would
And
love to meet you
yeah,
I
me
mean, in
you.
person.
Okay,
Thank you for having
I'll
me. And
organise it through John. Thank you so much for chatting with us and telling us your stories. We love you. We love Berlin. Come on
thank
back.
you. You
Look
take
forward.
care, Sandy.
Talk soon, Terry. Bye.
All right. Bye.